So, um, so as I mentioned, my name is Valerie. My Dharma name is Kyoshin, and I've been invited by our teacher to give a talk this morning. And I am going to talk about a koan. I'll tell you why I picked this one, which is that we're in a time where light and darkness are very much sort of in our consciousness. So I am Jewish by ethnicity, and so we're in the time of Hanukkah, the Festival of the Lights, which actually I looked up a little bit about, and the word Hanukkah means dedication, and which is very pertinent to Zen practice, dedication. And then we're also about to come into the time of the winter solstice. So we're in the darkest time in our hemisphere. And kind of why I wanted to talk about that is it struck me, I've been thinking about the solstice a lot, and certain rituals we tend to do around the solstice. And what struck me is how maybe I'm just speaking for myself, so you can see if this is true for you or not, but we tend to be very attracted to the light and not so much the dark. And it really struck me to kind of look into that for myself. So I will share this koan with you. And if you are caught by this particular koan at all, because I don't want to forget to mention this, I have listened twice now to a talk that's available online that Katagiri Roshi gave at the Zen Center of Minneapolis a long time ago. And it is his voice. He is speaking about this koan, and it is a fantastic talk. So if you find that you're interested, this piques your interest at all, or makes you mad, or makes you curious, I would highly suggest Googling his talk. If you just, so it's case 86 from the Blue Cliff record. And maybe we can, I was going to say can put it in the show notes. I'm kidding. This isn't a podcast. But I can put it in the chat for anybody as well. So, so let me read you the koan. And for those of you who are brand new at Sweetwater and possibly don't know what a koan is, so no insult, just in case you don't. They are usually interactions between teachers and students that have been captured, that it's almost like the folklore of Zen, and they bring to light a basic aspect of reality. So maybe that's as much as you need to know for right now. So this is case 86 from a collection of koans called the Blue Cliff Record. And the title is Unman's Bright Light. Unman gave instruction saying, everyone has his own light. If you want to see it, you can't. Now, what is your light? And Unman himself answers, the storeroom, the gate. And then he answers again, it would be better to have nothing than to have something good. So I felt very excited about sharing about this koan with you, because it really is so much the essential teachings of Zen. And in a way, I'll go through it a little bit, but in a way, I could just summarize it by saying the last line, it's better to have nothing than to have something good. It's better not to hold on to any particular way of seeing ourselves or life or even a particular insight that we have, it's better to have nothing. It's better to be fresh in every moment and really be in the intimacy of life as it's happening than to hold on to any specific view that we have of ourselves or of life. And that's where the juice, that's where the mystery, that's where the magic is having nothing, which is everything. So, so Unman says, everyone has his own light. So I think this is really, really important in the sense that for us as Westerners, and I'm going to assume most of us here, Americans, I'm not sure, Monica, but that we can have a tendency towards self-criticism, even to the point of self-degradation. And to recognize that we all have our own light. We could say we all are nothing but light. And Katagiri in his talk talks about that light. He talks about it as being synonymous with capacity, with this kind of infinite capacity that is our life as it's emerging moment after moment. And from the Jewish tradition, which I know very little about, Ari, who's there and is a member of our Sangha here in Idlewild, knows a lot more about Judaism than I do. But one of the things that I love about it is that one's biggest obligation in life is to bring one's light forward, to bring one's own gifts forward. And I think this is a very empowering and also deeply encouraging aspect. So everyone has his own light. We all are nothing but our own light. And at the same time, he says, and I underlined this when I wrote it down, if you want to see it, you can't. If you want to see it, if you want to pull yourself out separate from the source of life, you won't see it as unhindered as it is, as unimpaired as it is. Because when we say you see it, we make two separate things. There's me and there's the light. And fundamentally, they're one thing. So if we want to pull ourselves out separate from this unified aspect of life, then we don't see it wholly. We see ourselves as partial. And then this was the line, I got very, very frightened by this line in the koan in the past. The darkness is dark. It felt very scary to me. It felt like it was death, which it kind of is. Not kind of, it is about the death of this identity of myself as separate. And what struck me in listening to the talks, I listened to Katagiri's talk a couple of times, and in reflecting in the last several days, in preparing for doing this talk, is that the darkness is dark, that's fantastic. That's the liberation of the mystery of what our life really is fundamentally. And it is very natural that we're afraid of that, I think. We're afraid to let go of our identities of ourselves. We're afraid to let go of our ideas about the world. We're afraid to feel this unconditioned nature of life. That seems natural to me. And it is an impediment. At some point, if we really want to feel deeply into the fundamental mystery of life, we have to let go. And so Unman is like so compassionate in this koan. So first he says, he's giving instruction. He's giving an instruction to an assembly of folks together, just like we are right now. And he happens to be the teacher there. And so he's saying, everyone has his own light. If you want to see it, you can. The darkness is dark, dark. And then he says, now, what is your light? And then he answers, and he says, the storeroom, the gate. Okay, so just to kind of bring this into normal language, we could think of the storeroom as the treasure chest and the gate as the front. So our life has these aspects of relative and absolute. Absolutely, everybody is sitting here in their own body, being their own person. And we are individuals in that way. So we could say that's the gate. And then everyone has this storehouse. Everyone is this storehouse. Everyone comes from the storehouse, arises from there. So these are these two fundamental aspects of our life. And in Zen, we call it the relative and the absolute. So Unman says, he says, if you want to try to see it as something I own, you won't see it. But he answers when he says, what is your light? He answers, he says, the storeroom, the gate. And then he answers again and says, it would be better to have nothing than to have something good. Better not to hold on anywhere and allow, not like we have to allow it, but experience life as it's happening moment after moment. We talk a lot about, especially in mindfulness, being in the present moment, right? And actually, that doesn't exist because me being in the present moment, it already happened. The present moment occurs as not as a completely unowned, unidentified place. And so when he says it's better to have nothing than to have something good, it's better not to hold on anywhere. It's better to experience life in its fullness, moment by moment by moment by moment. And I remember Maizumi Roshi saying, and he's kind of the root teacher of our lineage, right here, right now, as this. And also saying you, but not how you customarily think of yourself. So you is completely included. We are all completely included, but not in a limited way that we tend to think of ourselves. We're way bigger than that. But we only can really see that kind of plunging into the darkness is dark, dark. And that, in my own experience, takes support. That's why we have teachings. That's why we have teachers. That's why we have Sangha, our community. All of us here in Zoom as part of that, and you and the Zendo together in that way. It's we talk about in Zen the three treasures. So there's the Buddha, there's the awakened nature that we live. we tend to kind of stay away from the word enlightenment because there's just so much connotation to it, but this awakened nature. And then the teachings, the Dharma, and also the Dharma as Buddha, as the manifestation of those teachings, and our own Buddha nature as a manifestation of those teachings. And then the Sangha, the community. And these three together are the three treasures. So I love that. I suspect some of the new people there are the first time coming, you've come with someone else. And that's so great, because you can talk about it afterwards and encourage each other. Whatever questioning brought you to this moment to want to come to Sweetwater Zen Center, to really appreciate that in yourself and one another and support one another. Because that is what Sangha is all about, is really those heartfelt, deep questions and inquiry and passion that we have to understand our life, how we inquire about that together, and how we support one another in that. So I think I want to stop on the koan at this point. It's 11:26 on my screen. And I wanted to finish with some words from Suzuki Roshi, because I think it's almost like two hands with the koan, in terms of just appreciating where we are in this moment, wherever we are in our practice in this moment. And our group in Idlewild, our format is that we sit together on Thursday evenings and we study, we do a study together. And right now we're reading Suzuki Roshi's book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And this, somebody in our group sent me this quote after our meeting last Thursday night. So I felt like it would be a nice way to cap this off. And then I would love to hear any questions or comments that you all have. So this is from Suzuki Roshi. And I'm going to say this, it's probably going to sound really goofy, but sometimes when somebody's reading something to you during a talk, it's a little easier to check out because it feels like it's not that person speaking. So just pretend that I'm saying this to you instead of Suzuki Roshi saying this to you, okay? You think that you can only establish true practice after you attain enlightenment, but it is not so. True practice is established in delusion, in frustration. If you make some mistake, that is where to establish your practice. We talk about enlightenment, but in its true sense, perfect enlightenment is beyond our understanding, beyond our experience as individuals. Even in imperfect practice, enlightenment is there. We just don't know it. So the point is to find the meaning of practice before we attain enlightenment. Wherever you are, enlightenment is there. If you stand up right where you are, that is enlightenment. So thank you, Suzuki Roshi. Thank you all for showing up for your practice. And I hope anything I've said would be of usefulness to you. That would be wonderful.